The year was 2025, and under the unforgiving blaze of Ouagadougou's industrial strip, something historic stirred. Past the crowded motorbike lanes, beyond market women selling cola nuts and groundnuts under makeshift umbrellas, towered a newly built complex, a giant aircraft hangar draped in Burkina Faso's proud red, green, and gold. Military trucks rumbled in and out. Men in dust-streaked fatigues patrolled the perimeter, their rifles slung low but eyes sharp. Inside that colossal hangar, the air smelled of warm metal and machine oil. Sparks flew from welders' torches, echoing like angry fireflies in the dim. Engineers hunched over workbenches strewn with circuit boards and schematic papers. Young women from local technical schools, with braids wrapped in bright cloth, traced lines on drone shells with steady hands. At the center stood Captain Ibrahim Traoré, broad-shouldered, eyes a stern mirror of the Sahel sun. Around him gathered generals, village chiefs, invited for honor, and barefoot apprentices who'd once only dreamed of seeing such machines. Suddenly, a low hum began to build, not from speakers, but from the very rows of sleek, camouflaged drones lined up before them. Propeller blades flexed like eager wings. Now, Traore said softly, almost to himself. As if obeying some silent ancestral drumbeat, the drones lifted off, one by one, then in synchrony, rising into shafts of sunlight that cut through the massive doors. They hovered a moment, almost shy, then zipped off, splitting into perfect formations, vanishing into the bright blue. The crowd gasped, some clapped, some simply stood, hands over mouths. Traore allowed himself a small hard smile. They no fit find us, he muttered, his voice low but sharp enough for his intelligence chief to hear. It wasn't arrogance, it was relief, that at last Burkina Faso might finally slip from the greedy jaws of foreign surveillance, from village whispers to steel giants. This was no miracle born overnight. It had begun 2 years before, in remote village courtyards where goats nibbled cassava peels and elders rested under neem trees. Rumors had already swirled that Burkina Faso was tired, tired of mercenaries, tired of waiting for France or the US to chase terrorists hiding in thorny scrublands, tired of neighbors mocking their struggles. So they called meetings. Elders brought calabashes of dolo, the millet beer that loosened tongues and stiffened courage. Young men came with battered laptops.
Said the West is rattled. The ambassadors are begging for inspections, sending trade envoys. They might even send drones of their own. Traore chuckled, teeth flashing. They go try tire. But these birds, they be sons of this soil. They know how to hide in our skies, dance through our valleys. Let them come. They no fit find us. A hush fell. Far off, village drums picked up a slow rhythm. It was neither a war song nor a victory chant. It was the heartbeat of a nation, pulsing through scrubland and millet fields. Eyes across Africa. Soon, delegations began arriving quietly, from Niger, Mali, even Ghana. They toured Burkina's drone factories with awe. Engineers traded secrets over steaming bowls of rice. Traore stood before them, hand on heart. Africa must never again beg foreigners to watch our skies for us, he declared. We will guard our own children with our own iron birds. The room erupted in claps, ululations, and the sharp stomp of leather sandals. "Is it right," the young man asked, "to make machines of war when people still hunger?" The old man sighed. "Better to feed a child, yes. But sometimes you build the shield before you plant the garden, so the garden survives." He closed his eyes. "Pray that these birds remember to protect the hungry, not become hungry themselves." One humid midnight, a foreign drone did try to slip across Burkina's northern border. It barely made it 5 miles before Traore's iron birds rose from hidden gullies, swarming like hornets. The invader tried to climb. Burkina's drones mirrored it perfectly. It twisted left. They split into two arcs, rejoining to box it in. One sleek local model zipped up and fired a short-range electronic pulse. The foreign drone blinked, spun like a drunk man, and nosedived into thorn scrub. Back in Paris, a diplomatic attaché crushed his coffee cup. How did they even get this tech? No one answered. Under Burkina Faso's starlit sky, griots made new ballads. Our sons sent iron pigeons to dance on winds we thought were cursed. Now the hawks of Europe circle wide, afraid of drums that beat below. Women at water wells began naming newborn boys Kodugu and girls Yenenga, after warriors of old. Even children chasing goats in dusty lanes sometimes stopped, and so began the sketches on old rice sacks. At first, they were clumsy, frames built from bicycle spokes and tin roofing. The motors sputtered, software crashed. The first prototypes spun drunkenly over maize fields, scattering chickens before belly flopping into mud. But failure was not cast here. It was celebrated because it meant they were trying. Mothers started sending hot toast, thick porridge to the workshops. Girls embroidered little red, green, gold stars onto pilot vests. Even village griots made up songs. See the children of Faso, sending birds to fight the sky. They no fear foreign eagles. Their drums will fly higher. Long before the drones ever left ground, an old blind woman arrived one dusk. She leaned on a gnarled walking stick, her eyes white marbles reflecting no light. Villagers thought she was mad, but she insisted on speaking to Traore. They brought him out, weary and annoyed. Who had time for prophets when rivets still popped loose? She lifted her head as if peering straight into the captain's soul. "I see iron birds that speak in tongues of ancestors," she rasped. "I see them confound those who hunt us. I see this ground drinking less of our blood." Then she turned her cloudy eyes toward the hills. "But the iron birds carry curses too. Feed them well with unity, or they'll feast on our sons." Before Traore could question her, she walked away, humming a war song older than colonial maps. Months later, inside that same hangar, Burkina Faso's new power hummed. The drones were no longer fragile curiosities. They were deadly smart. Equipped with thermal cameras, local terrain mapping, and encrypted communication that piggybacked on old radio towers.
so even Western satellites struggled to catch whispers of their flight paths. By the time global intelligence caught on, it was too late. In dim rooms in Paris and Langley, pale-faced analysts watched grainy footage. Dozens of sleek, Burkina-made drones practicing complex flanking maneuvers over the Koritenga savanna. They zipped behind termite mounds, dipped below radar ridges, popped up like ghosts to simulate attacks. Jesus Christ, muttered an American colonel. We thought these people were chasing goats with sticks, grumbled a French attaché. Well, the analyst sighed, closing his laptop. Apparently now, the goats fly.